You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Sheldon Primus.
Welcome to the Safety Consultant Show with Sheldon Primus, where we blend safety smarts with business brilliance and a pinch of Sheldon's signature wit. Whether you're a safety pro, a fresh-faced consultant, or just safety curious, get ready for a show that'll educate, entertain, and elevate your safety game. Let's dive into the art of consulting with your safety Sherpa himself, Sheldon Primus.
This episode is powered by Safety FM.
My man, Gabe, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Sheldon. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on again.
Oh, it's awesome. And since we've been on, I've trained a couple of your people with the cost program. So it's kind of cool seeing the name come in when I'm looking at my roster, when they send me the roster. And I'm like, hold on, I know that name. I know that company.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that program. And, as part of our goal as a company is we're not just here to sell technology. We want to help people, right? And so when you bring somebody new in that isn't familiar with the safety space, you could give them books or, tell them, what it's like, but cost really puts you into that experience. You really get to understand a day in the life of a safety professional. And it's required training for our team. So glad you get to do it.
Well, I'm going to pass that on to the Alliance crew because I'm sure that they'll love to hear all that.
Yeah.
Oh, and Aaron, he's a superstar now. I mean, he's doing all kinds of speaking and everything else. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's such a great guy. So I've known him for years. He was on the school board here in Ankeny, and obviously I got kids in school, and I try to be an active parent, not a passive one. And so I, had a lot of different interactions with him over the years. And he was working at another great Iowa company in the microplastics space. He was there for almost 20 years and helped build their European market out. Well, COVID happened, and he and I used to get together somewhat regularly. We hadn't seen each other for years. and we run into each other in all places in Singapore. So
Wow.
I happened to see on Facebook, he posted a photo of the Singapore airport, the exact photo that I had posted like 20 minutes earlier.
Oh,
And I
that's
texted him,
great.
I said, "You in Singapore?" And he said, "Yeah." I go, "Where are you staying?" And he was staying a block from my hotel in Singapore.
Wow.
So we got together and got caught up. And when we got back here to Iowa, we got together again. And I said, I'd really like to find somebody to help us, service customers over in the European market, because many of our customers are global, multinational. We just haven't been able to put any energy into that. So yeah, here we are. A year and a half later, his first day on the job was in Munich, Germany with me. And that was day
That's
one. He was
awesome.
there with me for 5 weeks. I think we covered 4 or 5 countries. So yeah, really cool.
That is synchrodestiny. Out of all the things I've ever heard, synchrodestiny, that is it. You guys were meant to be together for this venture, and so much so that they had to put you together in another country altogether,
On the other side of the world. Yeah.
the other
So
side of the world. That's amazing to me.
yeah,
Uh,
no, great.
you mentioned COVID. That's the last time we talked. Like we were just saying that before we hit the record button. And honestly, from that time period to now, you guys were like just getting started because you're a startup in 2019, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, I mean, we technically started in 2016, but really the first few years was, figuring out the technology, iterating and, trying, breaking, building, rebuilding, and then, getting manufacturing operations set up. I think that was 2019 ish. And then, I think it was 2020 when I was over in Singapore on my way to Malaysia, where one of our manufacturers is located, that I ran into Aaron. So, I think it was all around that time. We were all excited to get our first shipment of MākuSafe product after 4.5 years of building this, and it came in April of 2020.
Wow. For that
So
time
we
period.
wanted to have a big party and celebrate with our spouses and investors and stakeholders. And instead, I just showed up at the office and unlocked the door and put all the inventory in the warehouse and locked the door and went home, because we didn't know if we were essential at that time, right? If you remember, that whole fiasco in the beginning was essential businesses only, and nobody really knew what that meant. So our big grand delivery was pretty inauspicious.
Oh, wow. Well, hold on. I guess we have to back up for the audience. Tell everybody about your awesome product and award-winning products. I literally started writing down all the awards so I could, do my show notes and everything else. And I'm like, I got to stop at some point. You guys got so many awards. I'm like, I might going to get a hand cramp. So tell everybody about your product.
Well, thanks for that. And, we certainly appreciate the recognition, but for us, the most rewarding thing is hearing the stories from customers. So when we started this journey back in 2016, we wanted to do a couple of things. One, we wanted to create a piece of technology that would allow us to understand the changing risk in a workplace environment. And when work is being done, we want to do it in real time, but we wanted to do it from on the individual person. And normally I would be at my office and have our product there and everything for you. I told you I hit a deer with my truck. And anyways, so here I am in the barn behind my house. But imagine a wearable device about the size of a doorbell or your thumb, and it clips into the armband. We have an elastic armband with a holster. And that device is packed with a lot of different types of sensors. And we're looking at environmental conditions, heat exposure, temperature, humidity, air quality, VOCs, CO2, sound exposure, decibel frequency levels on a time-weighted average, light levels, air pressure, a lot of things in the environment that can, be contributing factors to workplace accidents. Also, certain things that can be dangerous, right? If you're overexposed to it. So that's the environmental side. And then from an ergonomic standpoint, we're looking at a lot of things like human motion, physical force, slips, trips, falls, repetitive motions. How much energy is a worker producing when they do their work? And how does that compare to their peers? What can we learn, from how they're experiencing it compared to their coworkers? And then lastly, also a communication device. And so workers can simply push a button and speak a voice command in, or just report something from the front line. So we have customers that use it for, reporting maintenance issues or broken equipment or near misses, or just a way for that frontline worker, no matter where they are in a facility, to get information to a supervisor instantly, so that supervisor can act on it. And so we do all that with a single device, and then certainly all that data comes into a platform, so that safety and operations people can look at a single pane of glass and understand 360 degrees what's going on the job site in real time. There's lots of retrospective reporting they can look at. We use AI to process trends, what is changing, what's improving or not getting better, things like that.
Wow. That seems to me like a bunch more features than the last time we talked.
It's, I think part of it is we're now understanding how some of these things can be used. The technology, as we developed it and produced it, first back in 2020, hasn't changed a whole lot. But then things happened and it allowed us to change. And a great example of that is COVID. So we have the ability to see how far a person is from another person if they're both wearing one of our devices. And so within a few weeks of COVID, we created reporting so that if somebody got sick, the supervisor didn't have to go, hey, give me a list of all the people that you were within 6 feet of for 15 minutes or more. Who knows that stuff anyways? They could literally just go to our system and say, all right, Gabe is the person that I want to see. And here's all the people over the last 48 hours that he spent 15 minutes or more around and was within 6 feet of. And that unlocked a variety of things for us that now we're doing more human to machine interaction, human to facility interaction, all of these, smart Industry 4.0 technologies that companies are investing in to make their machinery and equipment smart is great, but they've left the worker out of that scenario. So now that we have a connected worker technology, well, as that worker approaches the machine already knows who I am. The machine can see, am I authorized to use me? Is my training up to date, right? I can unlock and turn on for that worker. We can speed up and slow down assembly lines, conveyor systems based on how many workers and who those workers are in an area. So there's just a lot that unlocked for us when we started figuring out use cases with our customers.
That seems like, to me, on the back end, you're working with stuff like ladder logic in order for that to coordinate. It also seems like your data storage has got to be ridiculous in order to do that. I don't know what you're paying for in storage, but oh my, that seems a lot to me.
I'm excited to say, I think it was last month we had almost 25,000 work shifts last month that we covered. We've passed 5 million hours of data gathered from workers. So that database is growing exponentially, which increases the cloud cost. But to me, that's a really good thing to look at. We count the number of shifts, that our devices get checked out for on a month by month basis. And certainly over the last 12 months, we've just seen it, continue to grow exponentially.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then also, now that you've had so many years doing this, you might start, like you mentioned earlier, not only getting trends, but you might have industry trends starting to appear with your clients. Are you guys taking that stuff and turning it into like special talks at the ASSP meetings and the National Safety Council meetings, as you're getting all this data together?
Yeah, that's a great point. We're just getting to the place now where we have, a few years worth of data, and we can begin to look at trends across all of our customers or across geographies or across industries. And, one little tidbit, for example, I can tell you over the last 3 years, don't hold me to this, but I believe it's 1.7 degrees. It's about a 1.7 degree increase in the ambient temperature exposure of workers over the southern half of the United States. And what's interesting about that is, we know warming is happening, right? And we have global climate statistics and stuff to show that. But then what does that mean for the workers, right, that are working on these job sites? And if that trend continues, we can begin to say, well, if we project this out, what does that mean in 5 years? And how should we as a company begin to proactively think about what is our strategy that if this continues on this trend, what's that going to do to the operations of the business? If we're having to get into heat protocol, significantly earlier in a shift or earlier in a day, or just change the way that we do things, or invest in other things like swamp coolers and, air cooling systems and things like that. And how do we plan for that as a business, knowing that those things are going to be coming, in just a few short years?
Yeah, and then if you cross that data over with high humidity areas, then you're also thinking about vector control for mosquito controls that could lead to viruses that way. And with that information, I would imagine that if you do have those trends, you can start thinking, all right, well, your south location really is going to need some foggers for the night shift. And you might end up seeing, data that might relate to, excessive heat that would lead to, well, I don't know if you can do it yet, but I'm just us, spitballing here. But would any of that lead to where now you're seeing the fatigue factor of the workers with some of this temperature increase and everything, like the capacity of the worker starts getting reduced? Would that be like a logical next step?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the exciting part about this space is we've never gathered this kind of data in human history for any period of time. We'll do sound monitoring, and most companies are required to do that in areas of their facility, and you get a snapshot of time, maybe a day, a few days, or a week. But to understand the longitudinal impact of some of this information on the human body, it'll be interesting to see where all this goes and what other types of things we can derive from that data.
Yeah, especially if you can start connecting that with other, third-party databases and see if there's some sort of sharing. I don't know, maybe it's a blockchain thing there, because then you would have to work with smart contracts and all the other stuff that would, connect that together. We're thinking Web3 now. Here we go. I'm already moving into blockchain technology.
I love it. I have a vision that someday my two boys, I have one that just turned 10 and one that's about to turn 13. Maybe someday they'll have a job where they're working with our data for some other industry or the medical industry or healthcare industry, or who knows, but they'll have access to, a decade's worth of data that was gathered about exposures that directly happen to workers.
Oh man, that's great. And your technology I honestly think later on, especially when the data starts getting better, could be a replacement for the numbers such as days away, restricted transfer, or total recordable injury rates that the regulators and even insurance companies feel like that's the measurement of how safe a company is, if those total recordable injury rates are so low. And the data says that it takes so many years for the correlation between TRIR and actual worker safety and let's say safety culture. That data doesn't go together, but your data does. Your data can actually show where you're actually seeing workers who are getting not only monitored, but with intervention, that the company is proactive, not waiting for lagging indicators. You're doing leading indicator work. So if there's a way to coordinate, or I don't even know if it's coordinate's the right word, but just for that type of proactive data to be more of an indicator than reactive lagging indicators, that's a better measurement of how safe a company could be, or even measurement of what your experience modification rate should look like.
Oh, yeah. So, and you're right. I mean, from a regulatory standpoint, regulation often lags behind technology, right? And in a lot of ways it has to. But you're starting to see some things. California is always a really good place to forecast, right? Because they're typically ahead on the regulation curve, like it or hate it. Don't need to get into that part of it, but they're passing on a lot of regulation right now around heat exposure. We know that that's a really big focus for OSHA, and has been for a couple of years now. And it's one thing to put a sensor on a wall hundreds of yards away from certain workers that says that area is just fine, but yet these workers over here that are exposed to the radiant heat coming off of the paint lines and things like that, they're at a different level of risk. And the technology is there now where we can do consistent monitoring. We can do it at an individual level. We can tailor our operational programs as a company to the individuals that are experiencing the types of exposures that we're looking at. And so I would say, as time goes on and regulators begin to look at the availability of technology, the cost and burden to a company, it's going to shift at some point, and they're going to look at it and go, look, this stuff is available. It's low cost. It has the potential to significantly reduce the heat exposure issues that we have in the workforce. We're going to start requiring this of certain industries, or we're going to start requiring this of certain size of companies and things of that nature. I think that's only natural that it'll follow that path.
All right. And just as an aside, anytime someone tells me global warming is a hoax, I'm pointing them to you. You've got data.
There's a lot of people with data out there related to, the warming trends. And we certainly see the impact of it on our weather. We're just taking that down to the worksite level and saying there's going to be an impact to people too. It's just natural that's going to happen. So.
Yeah. Hey, can I put you in a spot with a you don't have to give me client names, but I'm going to throw this out in a nice little web. So here is me putting you in the spot. One positive, one negative. One positive is what kind of data is being gained that you never thought your technology would do, but a client kind of put it together, and maybe it's maybe not only the capability but the relationship that the client figured out that you're like, ooh, I didn't even think of that. And that's the first question. Then the second question is, what is the same relationship thing that you wish someone never found out, and you're like, man, why are they using my technology for evil? So those two things, if you could, I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but at least tell me those two things, if it's even come up in your mind yet, or you've made that relationship yet.
No, I think those are fair questions, and I think I can give a couple of examples. So there was an article recently in Axios put out by Tyson Foods, who's been one of our more public customers, and they outfitted a brand new facility of theirs with our technology, not only the wearable, but then Interact, which is our, kind of human to machine technology. It helps us be able to control the speeds of production lines and things based on proximity data, who's there, the number of people. They were one that really kind of pushed us there post-COVID into, the safety side of things is important, but because you have a connected technology, can we also impact productivity, right? Can we make work better? Just had another customer using what we call Motion Explorer in our platform, which helps us see human motion. Mm-hmm. And they were able to take that data and identify a worker that was at pretty high risk of an injury because of the amount of force and energy that he was using to do his job compared to his peers. They also keep track of how much he produces through the day, and he was relatively the same as his peers. Well, they focused on him from a training standpoint on his motion and how he's doing his job. Well, his risk score went way down from a motion standpoint when they went through all of that training with him, and his productivity took him to the top of all of his peers. Right?
Wow.
And when we have organizations that continue to press this narrative of, if you want to be a safe organization, you're going to have to sacrifice productivity. Or if you want to be a productive organization, you're going to have to sacrifice on the safety. They just can't work together. Well, I've got data and proof and customers that are showing us that's absolutely not the case. Both can work together. So there's a couple of examples where customers took our technology and showed us how they were applying it to operations, productivity, as well as safety. To address your other question
this is the juicy one.
So last time we spoke, we were just getting our first shipments of product, right? And COVID was shutting the world down. As a startup, your first reaction is to say yes to everybody, right? A company says, "Hey, we're interested in your technology. We'd like to buy some." Your answer is yes. You go, absolutely. Well, how many do you want? We'll ship them today.
Absolutely. That's the answer.
Yeah. And that's okay. That you learn a lot through that process. And what we learned over the first couple of years of deploying our technology is company culture makes a huge difference in the success or failure of using not just MākuSafe technology, but safety technology in general, right? And so what we discovered is organizations that had a high degree of trust between frontline employees and leadership, that put a premium on safety and really genuinely cared about their workers, have found themselves going, we've done everything that the industry says we can do to make our place safe, and we've plateaued. We've gotten so far. We have to turn to technology or something new to get even better. Those organizations tend to have a ton of success with our technology, using our platform. The interaction between the workers and leadership is incredibly positive. On the flip side, in those early days, saying yes to everybody, you would start to find organizations that they had people that were using data for punitive action against people. Like, well, you're too much of a risk for us because you have too much physical motion in doing your job. So we're going to let you go, or we're going to move you to something else because, we don't want to pay for a shoulder injury. That's not the right way to manage, right? Understanding, again, we preach, human and organizational performance, and understanding that there is risk in all the things that we do, and how do we help build capacity for failure into the areas of risk that are going to be greatest to us, right? And to do that isn't to just fire somebody that's been there 15 years and bring in somebody new off the street, right? In fact, you're probably raising your risk by doing something like that.
Absolutely, and the cost.
Yeah, and so using the data to say, wow, why is Gabriel, who's just as productive as our other workers, why is he so high in his physical output? Maybe it's something that is physiologically unique to me, right? Maybe I had an old football injury or something, and I just can't move the way that they designed that job to have me move. Maybe there's a way that I could do that job that's maybe different from the way that they've originally designed it, that makes it efficient for my body and allows me to continue to be just as productive and do the job and do it for, decades into my career. And that's the type of organizations that we've found the most success with, are those ones that are saying, there's information in this data, and I first need to gather the data and start peeling back the layers to see, how can I make work better, more comfortable, more efficient for our workers? Because at the end of the day, what they're seeing is areas that maybe weren't as comfortable or efficient on the body, they had high turnover, and now they've focused their energy and effort on making that job better for the human body. And all of a sudden their turnover is down 60%, right? And they've got employees that work in those areas that are saying, hey, I've got a friend looking for work. Are we hiring? Where in the past they would come home exhausted and go grab a beer with their buddy, and their buddy's like, yeah, I'm looking for work. And they say, yeah, you don't want to come work where I work, man. It's awful.
Absolutely.
So there's just all this other impact that happens when an organization looks at it and says, we care about our people, and we genuinely want to make the work as comfortable as we possibly can so that they can continue to do it for years and years.
Sounds like you're one of the few type of industries and product that could prove if somebody's trying to get the Voluntary Protection Program, VPP from OSHA, or ISO 45001, which is, for those listening, the international, just a framework, if you would, for safety culture. It seems like you guys might be the answer to actually putting paper to pen and charts and showing that not only can we have a better, a culture as a whole, but our safety culture is such that we follow up on people when they're in distress. These are the steps we take. So have you guys been using that yet, or clients using that in that way yet?
100%. Absolutely. I mean, some of those certifications require that you have a process for gathering and documenting information and actions, right? We have a couple organizations, for example, even using the My Voice feature, that voice control on there, where they're doing behavior-based safety observations. Employees they're using the voice to record that. And then you've even got supervisors that are walking around and using it to record, just had a conversation with so-and-so about, how they were doing this job, or just learned this from one of the employees about how maintenance does this thing, or, this information that they can get back to HR. It becomes, instant documentation. You do it with your voice. It goes into a platform. You can assign it to people. You keep a history of it. And the other thing that we see in the safety space is, is safety leaders, especially good safety leaders, they move around, not always from company to company, but also, location to location. And to be able to have a new person come in and be able to get into a dashboard and see all of the different things that previous person was doing and how they address certain issues and the documentation behind it and photos and diagram, all of that stuff can go right into the platform. Boy, that makes it really easy to pick up where somebody good left off.
Yeah, and actually, flip side too, you can see when something's gone wrong, and you can see why it's gone wrong, and and all the interaction. Not to fire people, obviously, but just so that you could use it as a learning tool. So the next time you hire someone in that position, it's better than an exit interview, because now you actually could see everything and create hopefully a training manual or something else that would address it.
100%. And I love hearing the stories from our customers where they've learned something from their front line, and they come back to us and they say, this person knew this for a long time, but until we gave them a tool where they could just quickly say it in the moment while they're thinking about it, that's how we finally captured it. And now we're making a process change that's benefiting everybody in that job role, because somebody finally had a tool to allow them to do that. Because most companies, as you know, especially in the industrial space, they still have the suggestion box on the wall by the break room with a 3x5 card. If you have an idea, write it down and put it in there. Hey, I'm going on break. I got 15 minutes. I'm not going to stop and spend 10 minutes writing down a suggestion on something and putting it in a box that I don't, And we've got customers that take that My Voice feature, and they have a screen in the break room that shows how they lay it out is what you said and what we did. And so those voice messages go up on there, and it's like, Jim said this. On the other side, here's what we're doing about it. Sometimes it's noticeable, tangible change. Other times it's, thanks, Jim, for making us aware of that. We're going to add this to a KPI that we monitor now for the next 90 days, and we're going to see if we can get more information about it. And how culture building is that for an employee when they feel like, hey, I said something, I brought something up, and the company's taking action on it. People are taking it seriously. And with those suggestion boxes, I mean, that's a black hole. You write something down, it goes in there, and nobody ever says or seems to do anything about it. So just really visual ways of taking data that's gathered through this technology and making it visible to people.
Oh man, that's awesome. You guys doing any consulting with that too? Because I know some of your data and some things that's coming back may leave clients where they're thinking, all right, we know the issue, but we don't know how to solve it. Or you see an action taken, and your guy is like, hey, maybe you guys shouldn't go with this action because our past clients did the same thing, and we could suggest you take this action instead. So you guys are working on that aspect of the business?
Yeah, I'll mention a couple of things with that. So one, going back to cost, why do we train our people to really be able to walk the walk and talk the talk? Now, again, it's a different world to be a safety practitioner and be on the floor, 24/7, like those folks are. But to be able to have enough knowledge and training and insights through a program like COS allows our customer support team to get into the dashboard, to help with investigation, to make suggestions, to point to parts of OSHA code that address the things that they're trying to address. So it's a very consultative approach for us, and that's all part of our regular service. Now, on the other side of things, we've been really growing and building our partner ecosystem. And we recognize that we fit into one part of this whole safety picture, right? We're at very early stages of things. We're gathering the leading indicator data. We're helping process that data. Then there's folks that are out there that maybe are on-site occupational therapists, right? And they're the ones that are helping design the jobs ergonomically or helping address ergonomic issues. And they can use our data to help do their job better. And then you've got folks down the line that manage all of the, unfortunately, accidents still happen, although we see on average at least a 50% decrease or more in recordable accidents with our customers than they were previously at. So a significant decrease, but things still do happen. So you have other providers that help with return to work programs, with the documentation part of things, the OSHA reporting, all of that stuff. And so we've found a way to partner with a lot of these folks in the ecosystem to say, in some cases like Benchmark, GenSuite just announced a partnership with them where our data can feed directly into their platform for helping do processing of reporting and data and recording, to OcDoc services on site that are using our platform to help do their job, and then also be able to quantify to their customers that they're consulting for, hey, I tell you that we go out and we, help redesign a job and it makes things better. Well, I can tell you we redesigned this job based on data coming from MākuSafe. We can now go look at, we made this job 63% less physical for the workers. They can quantify that now instead of going and saying, well, let's wait a couple years and see how many fewer accidents we have to see if this was the right change. And that's where where data becomes really powerful, where you don't have to wait for the lagging indicators to tell you that as a safety professional, I put a control in place. How effective was that control, right? Over a couple of years, we had, 10% fewer accidents. Great. Well, if I can put a control in place and within hours, I can be looking at data and see that control has reduced, the physical risk, or has improved the air quality in an area, or has improved, the temperature, humidity of an area, I can now begin to quantify that and say that was a good control without having to wait for that. Or I could look at it and say, boy, that really didn't do anything. I made that change. The data saying that it barely moved the needle. I'm going to go out and do something different. Or maybe we're going to try two different controls. This group, we're going to change your job station setup. You're no longer going to pull this thing from down here and bring it up here. You're going to pull it from up here and bring it down here. And then this group over here, we're going to put lift tables in, and we're going to see which of these things is more effective at taking that physical risk out of the job. So now I can A/B test different controls, and I've got data that will show me how effective that was. Again, without having to wait and see, okay, we did it this way. Only 6 people got hurt here. We did it this way. 5 people got hurt here. So that tells us this one's better. It's just a better way to make change.
Oh, and you guys actually were able then, in this case, as I'm hearing, first technology, it looks like it's a API, application programming interface that you may have with other companies in order to make that happen. So your IT is brilliant. And then also the other thing that I'm hearing is you're able to incorporate the two sides of safety right now, the human and organization performance and the behavior-based safety. Sometimes they're like the Crips and the Blood, the way that they think. So now your product can be that peace mechanism to bring them together and to say, if you're BBS, you got your observations. If you're HOP, then here's work imagined versus work is performed, and you guys are able to bridge that gap between the two. So you're the safety peacekeepers there. The intervention.
I mean, that's the other thing is you can't hide from the data. And, that was a concern for me when we went down this path, 8 years ago was do companies really want to know this? Or are they going to be scared that like, oh, we're going to get some information that tells us the work that we're doing or how we're doing the work isn't maybe the safest, for our workers? Will we rather just bury our head in the sand and not know that? And there are organizations out there that are like that do not want to know this information, and they would rather claim plausible deniability when something bad happens. The reality is something bad happens, they're still going to be liable. They're still going to be sued for it. They're still going to have responsibility for it. So the organizations that look at this and go, we're going to learn some things that we probably didn't want to hear, but we're going to get some information that's going to allow us to proactively take action and make changes. And at the end of the day, that's a far better path for us than pretending that we didn't know. And I think the reality is that's the way the world's shifting anyways. The organizations that don't want to have access to that stuff because of fear of, knowing what they're already assuming, they're just not going to be able to retain people. People are going to want to go work at places where they're valued, and that the company's making sure that they're getting home safe at the end of the day. So
yeah,
I think we're going to just continue to see more and more people move towards that.
Yeah, that's great. And as we're talking, I have so many clients, so I'm like, they need you. So I might have to send you like a list of a referral list, because honestly, there's a couple of manufacturing, and I'm sure your product could be used for more than manufacturing in different industries, but specifically in manufacturing, I got a couple of clients that I'm like, ooh, and they're not too far from you either. So I'm like, I might have to, now that I understand you're new, new to me, because your last time we talked was so long ago, but now I understand how you guys have progressed, the data and the active learning that you guys did as an organization. It seems like there's just like consultants that are listening to this. I'm sure all of us are like, it'll make our job easier if we could plug in our clients to what you're doing. And then when we show up, we're going to do our mock OSHA audits or our training and everything else that we do as consultants. But now the data is some of the things, especially good, solid data. Now we could help them with the transition into just what they call is a swamp, safety without any management principles, swamp, or normally occurring reactive management. So we could get them out of that mindset and then get them, into, actual safety culture. So that's what goes into my consulting brain as I hear what you're saying here. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And think about, when you walk into a blank canvas of a job site, you're going to do your best to go around and look, for what you see is out of place. And you want to hope to be in the right place at the right time. And that's really, the struggle for any safety person, right, is trying to be in the right place at the right time. Well, if you have access to data that says, this is going on in this area, here's the workers that are exposed to it, here's how it's been trending over time, you can begin to prioritize, if I'm working with this customer, where I can be most impactful for them. And you can begin to say, we're going to focus on this for the next 90 days. And then I can also tell you the next thing we're going to focus on is this here. But this is your highest risk. Let's put some energy and effort into it. Let's quantify the results, through the data, and then move on to the next thing, right? Versus just a kind of a shotgun approach, or, maybe just a traditional approach of, well, we know if I come in and I speak about proper lifting and setting your back techniques, then we're going to have an impact. Well, that's great, but maybe not all 500 workers in that facility need to hear that message. Maybe this group over here needs to hear something completely different, right? So I think we're also finding a lot of results on the insurance side of things where their risk professionals are looking at our data for a mutual customer, and they're going, hey, we've got ergonomists on staff, we've got industrial hygienists on staff, we have CSPs on staff, right, for the use of our customer. I'm going to send them to this place, and they're going to look at this thing because the data is telling us that's the problem, which is a total change from how the insurance industry used to do it. You'd probably just get your annual visit from their industrial hygienist or your annual visit from your ergonomist. And they're going to go, hey, we looked at the 5 accidents you had last year. We think, we should do a program on, proper bending. Yeah. This is just a way, way better approach.
It is, because when I first get my client calls, whether it be from an insurance company or a past student or something else, I have to spend so much time in the first part of our process doing troubleshooting and trying to do my scientific method. If this happened, then this is supposed to occur, then why didn't it happen? And I'm constantly doing, scientific method to take out a variable and then have to put in another variable and get the time to see the reaction between one variable leaving and one variable coming in. All that time is valuable. It's what you need to truly diagnose someone's safety culture or diagnose their problem for safety. But it's time consuming. Obviously, I have to charge for that, so it's going to be even more costly to the client. So if coming into a place they have your system, the data itself is interpreting the data and helping them, put more context into it. But honestly, you've got a lot of that with your sensors. So I don't know if the future is going to get you into like 4 gas meter type sensors, but you're like you're that close to a sensor that could be in a confined space, of course, if it's intrinsically safe. But honestly, I think you're like that close to honestly the full Monty, if you would.
And we lean on our customers quite a bit to help us understand where there's still gaps, right? That's what led to the integration with Benchmark. And we just announced at NSC last week, integrating with Intellex, right? And our customers are saying, hey, I take all of this information from your system and then I input it into their system from a documentation standpoint. And boy, it'd be really great if I could just push a button and all of that takes care of itself. And just recently, we've had a few of our larger customers approach us about another challenge that they're having in facilities that have resulted in some pretty significant and severe accidents. And so, we're always looking for ways to help, make them better. And so we're excited. We're working on a couple projects right now with those customers that are in kind of MVP prototype stage. That I think are going to be really exciting. And we know if we've got 2 or 3 or 4 locations or customers that are dealing with that, we know there's hundreds out there that are dealing with the same thing. And so we use a lot of their feedback to help us prioritize what we work on as a technology organization.
That's great. Hey, I got another question, and I know your time is precious. So here's my parting question. Take me back to like when you were first, you got the development stage and out of your brain of what you're going to do with MākuSafe. We even got the name with Maku for the Hawaiian version. But now you're ready to, you've got some challenges back then. What did you do when you wanted to give up? Because I know there's probably a time when you're like, this is too ambitious. What did you do and how'd you get over that? And now, living through that on the other side, there must have been some sort of pivot point somewhere.
Yeah, a couple of things. What we're doing is important. It's too important, right? This wearable safety technology, data gathering, and making business decisions based on data, it's a process that's coming, right? And we're fortunate to be at the forefront of that. So it's new and exciting every single day, but it's extremely important. And the thing that continues to drive us is when we get that call from a customer that says, you'll never believe what we just avoided, or you'll never believe what we just learned. Thank you. Your technology is helping us. That's a rewarding driver. And then two, God's hand has been on this journey since day one. I felt like this was exactly what I needed to do based on my family history. I think I mentioned last time my great-grandfather walked out of a factory for lunch to have a date with my great-grandmother, and the factory exploded and killed all of his coworkers. So I wouldn't even be here because of an industrial accident had he not decided to take his lunch break and go on a date. And then my father being a safety manager for 20 years and hearing the stories and challenges of what he was working with, in a way, I feel like carrying on, a family legacy, is a big driving force behind this. And, just feel really fortunate that I've been put in this place, and the doors continue to open to us with wonderful people like yourself that help get the word out there and share what we're doing. And every day is just something new and exciting.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Tell everybody how to reach you.
Yeah.
And any new projects, especially if you're going to be out. And I know you do a lot of the events, and I don't know which ones are coming up, but tell everybody about, how to get to you.
Yeah. I mean, we're at a lot of the major shows, we're just at NSC. We were down in Denver at the ASSP show. I know we've got a variety of events coming up. We've got a lot of those listed on our website. So MākuSafe.com, that's MAKUSAFE.com is our website. Certainly find us on LinkedIn. We're always celebrating our customers' successes and what they're learning and sharing their stories. And certainly easy to find us on LinkedIn and other social media platforms as well.
Excellent. Gabe, thank you so much for coming back. It's been awesome.
Sheldon, I can't wait to do it in person. We got to get together sometime.
That's absolutely true. I really need to get back out and get in the circuit and all that stuff. I'm having too much fun, but I do want to get back and start speaking again and seeing people at the actual events. I haven't been a physical event since the year that ASSP went from ASSE. I was one of the speakers then, so that's been quite a while. It's been a minute.
Yeah. Well, let's get you back out there.
All right, deal. Well, thank you, and tell everybody, especially Aaron and the crew that I've taught. I'm so proud of them, and I'm sure Ryder's proud of you, because he mentioned you like right away, your instructor, and he was like, Sheldon, you got to talk to this guy. So,
that's awesome. Love Ryder Cobb, great guy, and thank you so much for having me back on. Happy to come chat with you anytime.
All right, thank you.
That's a wrap for today's safety show. Remember, safety isn't just about hard hats and caution signs. It's about business smarts too. Thanks for joining us on the Safety Consultant Show with Sheldon Primus. Until next time, stay safe, stay savvy, and keep consulting like a boss. Go get 'em. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast or broadcast are those of the host and its guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within the past hour, only examples. It should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the positions of the company. No part of this podcast or broadcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast or broadcast, Sheldon Primus.
This episode has been powered by Safety FM.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.